Llegaron los octavos de final de la Champions League y el Liverpool se enfrenta al PSG. ¿Y qué dirán de Lucho en Francia? Aquí les traigo un segmento hablando de Lucho y su posición y cómo funciona, y el hecho de que se va a enfrentar a Hakimi, un lateral que es súper ofensivo. Hablan eso en Francia. También les traigo lo que hice en Redman TV de ese partido, pero antes, al comienzo, ese canal de Redman TV analizó un poco más el partido que tuvo Lucho contra Newcastle, que fue un partidazo. Hablaron un poquito más de eso, de cómo lo ven, cómo lo vieron y cómo les gusta ver eso, y si debe ser Gakpo titular o no. Todo eso se los traigo. No olviden suscribirse, darle like al video, el pulgarcito me ayuda mucho, hace que el canal crezca. También le dan a la campanita, eso les avisa cuando sale nuevo video. Les recuerdo que hay una especie de comparación en este video. Clave, el número 7, el lateral izquierdo del PSG, en Liverpool lo han comparado mucho con Lucho Díaz, si es mejor o no. Entonces va a haber esa especie de comparación. Así que cuando ven el partido, miren a Clave, que es bien difícil de pronunciar. Ahí está el nombre, ahí está. Muy buen jugador, jugó en el Napoli, hizo muchos goles y ahora está en el PSG. Así que veremos cómo le va a Lucho, veremos cómo está Clave. Y bueno, los dejo con el video. Ya saben, después del partido, al otro día les traeré la reacción de los hinchas, si hizo gol, cómo le fue, calificaciones, todo eso se los traigo. Esto es Golazo, nos vemos muy pronto. Disfruten el video. Y los franceses.
One man who isn't coming out of that Newcastle game, Steve, was Luis Diaz. It was, if your critique of Diaz is that he's not scoring enough goals, that wouldn't have put any of that to bed. But actually, it was even watching it back, as I was just so enamoured with Szoboszlai's performance and McAllister's performance that in the ground, I didn't think too much about Diaz. But then watching it back the next day, Luis Diaz, I've missed that one. I've missed him out on the left, fighting and scrapping and battling and kicking and harassing and skinning 2 and 3 men and getting hauled to the ground. It was the Luis Diaz that we love so much back on the pitch.
And it's Luis Diaz that seems to rally when somebody that potentially would have his places around him. So you look at who was on the opposition, Anthony Gordon, much written about that. And it's kind of like he's got this, it's a South American thing, it's a street fighter in them, shall we say, where it's kind of, that's the challenge and I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna do it. And the amount of times he won the ball almost in a left back position and gave us an out ball by himself, by beating players, as you've just alluded to, going past 2 or 3 and then getting hauled down so he can reset and get into position and play off the back of that. Really, really nice to see. His problem is always going to be that Cody Gakpo's kind of in his way, and if he'd been fit, I don't know if Diaz would have played, but I'm glad he did. It was one of those performances where you look at it and think, because there's a lot written about his contract status at the moment, isn't there, if you believe what you read, and he wants another one, and playing like that, you'd probably give him another one, because that was a really, really good performance. Lots been said about the left side defensively this season, and he really contributed massively down that side.
On avait vu la force de ce PSG de Luis Enrique pendant très longtemps. Ça a quand même été Hakimi, Dembélé sur le côté droit. Et je pense que Diaz et Robertson auraient peut-être pu souffrir contre ce duo-là. On ne verra pas parce que je pense que c'est clair que Dembélé sera dans l'axe. Après, il va peut-être beaucoup bouger. On aura peut-être Kvaratskhelia dans l'axe ou Barcola dans l'axe aussi. Mais j'aurais bien voulu voir quand même Dembélé contre Robertson aussi.
C'est vrai qu'on se concentre beaucoup sur ce qui va se passer du côté de Mo Salah, avec Nuno Mendes, avec Trent également. Puis il y aura de l'autre côté aussi Achraf Hakimi, qui va a priori scoltiner Luis Diaz. Et ça aussi, ça risque d'envoyer. J'ai hâte de voir aussi ce duel-là. Parce que qui va le plus attaquer, défendre entre ces deux-là? Hakimi, c'est peut-être avec Trent Alexander-Arnold le défenseur le latéral droit le plus offensif du monde. Luis Diaz, c'est un magnifique ailier, mais c'est un chien, il va défendre aussi comme un dingue. Donc il va y avoir un vrai rapport de force et un équilibre à trouver, je pense, dans les deux couloirs.
The question will be, I would guess Gakpo will be a big question, and Jota, and therefore Diaz in that. It's going to be, it will be 2 from 3 from them, you would imagine. And that's, barring injury, that's it really.
I fancy that if Gakpo's fit, I fancy that he moves back to Diaz up front, especially if they do play a man-to-man system, because you're then asking the centre-back to follow the centre-forward in. You might find quite quickly that it's man-to-man up until a point, and then Diaz becomes a free man in the centre of the pitch. I like the idea of something like that. Or even if it's a case of dragging him in and Salah running in behind into that space that he's vacated, maybe there's a little pass over the top there for him. Trent will be on there applying pressure. through his passing.
I totally agree with Chris. I think it seems, on what we've seen in recent weeks, it makes far more sense that Gakpo come back in on the left and Diaz will go centre. But is Jota still our first choice number 9 is the question, if he's fully fit.
And you could apply the Leverkusen logic to the game as well, where you've got two domineering centre-backs who like to stay at home and win balls played in and around the edge of the box. That said, Jota's massively improved in terms of coming deep and picking up the ball and bringing other people into the game. A few years ago, that was a criticism of his game where he needed to improve, and it's improved. The Diaz hat-trick against Leverkusen is kind of a blueprint, as to coin Dan's phrase from before, where we might get some joy in your point about dragging centre-backs where they don't want to go. Hakimi is remembered for his forays forward, not what he does defensively. So you look at those two and you think, right, so you've got Gakpo can have anyone on toast because he's bounce off him, don't they? You've got Salah on the other side, speaks for himself, and then you're going to be clever in what you do in the middle. You want to be pulling them all over the place. You want to have them thinking defensively. That's how you undermine what Luis Enrique thinks they are, is to give them questions they can't answer defensively. That plan they've got goes out the window within 10 minutes and you think, well, okay, we've got to do something different because that guy's in 20 yards of space. And we know Diaz likes a shot from distance. So